Hi everyone, Veronica Cruz Garcia here, providing you with some very important information that has been headlining the news most recently over the course of 3 weeks. And most importantly, of course, obviously, is what's going on with your money, what's going on with your retirement accounts, specifically the 401ks, because that appears to be the account or the type of account that most people have to save for retirement. And so I wanted to provide this information to you all so that you have a greater insight as to why it's important to understand timing when it comes to saving for retirement and the risk that is imposed on your money. So we all know that the stock market goes up and down, and sometimes the results are as unfavorable as a bad EKG result, right? And so, you know, we also know that one's risk tolerance is not equal. What I mean by that is when you're in your 20s and 30s, you can take on quite a bit more risk than someone who's in their 50s and 60s, when they should be a bit more conservative when it comes to how they have their portfolio allocated, meaning aggressive versus conservative and or fixed. And so, and the reason why I say this is because that's everything to do with timing. So when you're in your 20s and 30s and the market takes a massive dive, you have time to make that up in the form of, you know, contributions to your portfolio, your employer match, and then of course the upside potential of the market. But the operative word here is potential, which means that the same potential of the upside of the market, you also have the same potential for the downside risks. In addition to that, how does it make you feel, the word potential, meaning you can potentially not be able to retire if the market takes a massive dip when you're a few years away from retirement? And so, you know, in my blog that I'm sharing with everyone today is I'm going to share a real example on how timing affects when you retire and if you can retire at all. So here's an example of my client's story. 2 years ago, when my client was about 63 years old, we had sat down. He has some money in his 401k, and he says, "Veronica, I want to protect a portion of my 401k." And I said, "Okay, no problem." We sat down in the first appointment, and after going over some of his options, he asked me a very important question. And this is what I think most clients don't ask this question, and you really should. And that's, what would you recommend to your father or to your grandfather? And after I gave him my answer, I simply said, look, this is what I tell all of my clients. Protect what you don't want to lose, what you don't want to risk. And anything you're okay with losing, by all means, you know, risk that. And that obviously answers his question. He says, no, you know what? I know exactly what I want to do. 3 weeks after we successfully redirected a portion of his 401k, the market had a loss of about 12%. And my client, good thing is, he lost nothing, right? So fast forward now to February 2020. Now my client is approaching 65 years of age. Had he left his money with his former or with his current 401k provider, he would have lost approximately $105,000 over the last few weeks, with the market just going completely crazy. Thankfully, not only did he not lose a dime, but he also kept 100% of his gains over the last 2 years, which is awesome, right? So here's my point. You're going to hear and you're going to see a lot of posts on social media, ride the wave. The whole quote, you know, the whole statement, ride the wave, just ride the wave. Yes. Here's the thing with that. As I mentioned in my introduction, when I first started this video and the blog, timing is everything. Let's do the math. We're going to do the math real quick using losses from the previous market crash in between 07 and 09. And so you understand more so what this all means, especially for those who keep making the statement, ride the wave. Riding the wave is going to be most damaging to those who are in their 50s and 60s. And damaging enough to where those same people from 07 to 09 who lost 43% on average of their money in their retirement portfolios, they're still working today. And we know that demographic to be our baby boomers, which many of you are, they're either your parents or your grandparents. So let's take this, $500,000 in an aggressive account, okay, which means it has the highest volatility rate. 43% average of in the market crash that was lost. 500,000 times 43% is a $215,000 loss, which means you only have $285,000 for retirement. Now, taking a look at that, right, and just knowing that $215,000 loss, if that's not gut-wrenching to you, I don't know what else will be. But now imagine that you're on the brink of retirement, okay, and you lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. Think of how long it took you to save $215,000. It's a long time. So how does this specifically affect retirement income? Well, using a withdrawal benefit calculator from one of my carriers that I work with, had the $500,000 been redirected into a more conservative account before the crash, instead of riding the wave, right? This retiree would be receiving $2,450 per month for the rest of their life. However, with $285,000 remaining, after the loss, this retiree is going to receive $1,396.50. That's over $1,000 less per month. Do you think that's going to have an impact on someone, especially once you're retired, you're on a fixed income? But what doesn't stay fixed? Typically expenses, right? So at some point in time, this retiree would potentially have to go back to the workforce if they're even physically able to do so. So here are some tips to stop the bleeding. There's always going to be pros and cons with every proposed solution when it comes to long-term savings. But timing and risk tolerance play a significant role in the solution that is going to be right for you. So if you're currently facing market losses in your 401k or any other retirement plan that you have, and you want to stop the bleeding, here are a few tips that you can implement right away. Number one, reduce your contributions to the minimum that your employer will allow. Contact your 401k or retirement account provider and change your investment allocation to the most conservative option, or you can log into your account and make that change yourself if you're comfortable doing so. Redirect a portion of your 401k. Typically, you're only able to do what's called an in-service distribution if you're over the age of 59 and a half years old. And some rare cases, some very few cases, depending on your union and or your account provider or even your employer, you may be able to do an under 59 and a half distribution to protect a portion of your retirement. Or if you've left an employer, whether you have retired and you're not using your retirement funds yet because you have other resources, or you've left a job because you quit, you were terminated, laid off, whatever it may be, you can move your 401k entirely. So those are some of the options that I would give you specifically to help protect or at least help stop some of the bleeding that you've already experienced. Now, there's always the question of, well, the market, or the statement, well, the markets are going to recover. Will the market recover? Yes, of course it will. But when? No one knows. How much will you have lost already? No one knows. Will you ever gain those losses back? No one knows. And so even for the savviest investors out there who are telling those who are, in your 50s and 60s, and maybe even younger than that, if you were aiming for an early retirement, that they can't tell you what is going to happen in the future. All they can tell you is whatever goes down must come up, and vice versa. That's literally all they can say. So I wanted to share that with you, especially if you or someone you know are in this position right now where you just don't know, you don't have the answers to your questions. Please feel free at the end of my blog to sign up for more of my posts, of my articles, of my blogs, so that you can become more financially savvy in an unbiased way. I really hope this helps all of you, or at least some of you who have tuned into my video. God bless, and I really pray that you find the financial success you're looking for.